Hey, it's George. I just want to say thank you for listening to this Trainer Spotlight episode. Let's not waste any time and get right into it. Coach, what's going on? Tell us a little bit about who you are.
My name is Krista Huber. I am the founder and creator of the Fitness Fix, which is a fitness and nutrition coaching method that keeps things simple, keeps things honest, and keeps things real. I work closely with women, helping them really see that everything that's been holding them back when it comes to finally losing the weight, building muscle, having more energy, just overall having more confidence in every area of her life truly comes down to the fact that she's been conditioned to not put herself first. And why has she been conditioned to do that? Because society has shown her over the years that the way to get praised, the way to get ahead, the way to be successful, the way to be deemed well liked, the way to be deemed good comes at the expense of her, in the sense that it is her responsibility to put everyone else's needs before her own. I see this often with moms. I see this often with women who are very focused on pursuing their careers. I see this with entrepreneurs. I see this with women who really want to pour into their relationships. And what I do to support them is really teach them how to recognize the fact that when we do in fact put ourselves first, we're able to show up better in all of those relationships and in every capacity that we want to, because we're no longer pouring from that empty cup. I see myself as the last coach that you'll need to work with to finally lose that weight for good. And I play an important role in my clients' lives in helping them up level in every way, whether that is expanding in their career, changing jobs, finding a new relationship, having the courage to move to a new city, but really up level their lives in a way that's calling them into becoming their highest selves. I'm also most recently the founder of a new content coaching business that I've created for 2025. It is called the Clarity Collective. And I help coaches, consultants, business owners, thanks to my experience in both the online training space and running an online brand and building an online business, as well as working in person in multiple gyms over the course of the last almost 10 years now, help these business owners have a lot more clarity in who they're talking to, who they want to work with, and how they actually communicate, call those clients in, and target those clients to really speak directly to them in all of their content, but making content fun again, making content something that isn't falling to the very bottom of their to-do lists simply because there's so many other things going on in their businesses.
It's great getting to know you as a coach, but you're not a coach 24/7. So, can you tell me a funny or interesting story about yourself that happened either in your practice as a coach or in your normal life outside of coaching?
Funny story about me that'll definitely get a sense of who I am as a human. I'm going to take you guys way back. I want to say, if I remember correctly, from my parents telling me this story, because truthfully, I don't remember this happening, but it was well documented by multiple family members. I was like maybe 3 years old, closer to four, but probably around 3 years old. It was Easter. My parents always set up Easter baskets for us. And I guess at this time as a kid, my mom went pretty big on some of the Easter gifts. And outside of like the Easter egg hunt and the little basket, we got like a bigger item. So my older brother, who was not even a year and a half older than me, he got a pair of rollerblades from the Easter Bunny. And he was so excited about these rollerblades, jumping up and down, super happy. He decided that he wanted to bring me into the celebration. So he starts kissing me on the cheek and is getting all amped about it. And I'm sitting there, and I share this because something about me as a coach is I am a very literal person. I'm extremely direct, and I like to make things easy to understand, and I take things literally. So I looked at my brother and I said, "What are you kissing me for? I'm not the Easter Bunny." So just a little peek into how my brain works as now an adult. And I think 3-year-old me knew that someday I would go on to teach people things that can be simple when we look at them for exactly what they are.
What strategies do you use to attract and retain clients in your personal training business? I think we can all learn from each other here, and we'll probably find some answers to be quite similar to one another. But I'm really interested to hear what strategies and things you use to get new clients and keep the ones you currently have.
I've really developed what I like to call a hybrid strategy for attracting and retaining clients in my online nutrition business. And the reason why I use the word hybrid is because I have a background in boutique fitness, think bar classes, boot camps, all of the boutique studios that attract lots of women who, as described in the previous question, are my ideal client to work with. So, what I found is in the early phases of my career, when I was really focused on in person training, I was focused on being a group fitness instructor. I saw this consistent need that one came up in my own life when I was struggling with seeing the results I expected to see based on the effort that I was putting into taking these classes myself, and then saw that same challenge among the members of the studio where I worked and was also a client. So that ultimately became a springboard for me to be able to position myself as the go to nutrition coach or the individual that's really helping these women address whatever else is going on in the other 23 hours of their day. They're coming into these studios, they're taking these classes, they're putting in a lot of work, but it's not adding up to the results that they expect. So clearly, we have to look at whatever else is going on in those hours outside of the gym on a regular basis, certain number of days a week. Are they potentially overtraining? And that's really been a great launching pad for me to then support the continuity of being online, of being virtual, and giving them access to a community that doesn't open and close when that business's doors, the physical brick and mortar business's doors, open and close. I see a lot of online fitness and nutrition coaches who are truthfully just not comfortable because they may have started their business online with networking in-person interactions. And I can't stress enough how important that is, because you also never know if a conversation in a coffee shop or just standing in line grabbing a smoothie could lead to a potential new client. It's being open and it's just having that warm, friendly energy that I truly think energy is actually the overlooked part of what it takes to attract clients. And with that, I will also add, I absolutely love Instagram. I really enjoy making content. It's something that's fun for me. It's something that I want to teach other coaches how to actually enjoy versus feel like a chore of just having to show up. And it's an area where I think that if we can just make it a little bit more of a relaxed and kind of, hey, let me show up and be myself, you'd actually see a ton more growth and retention and actual conversion with it.
Let's say you get a new client. What's your process for assessing their fitness level, addressing their goals, and other things they express as being important? We all have different methods and can learn a lot from each other. Let's open the door and share some of our secrets.
To answer this question around assessing a new client's fitness levels and addressing their goals, I'll take this more specifically to nutrition, candidly, because I do work with a lot of clientele who are already participating in group fitness classes. Most of the women that work with me inside of the Fitness Fix program tend to come to me specifically for nutrition. And when it comes to really understanding their goals, first and foremost, it's having that conversation, it's listening, it's mirroring back to them. Hey, I'm hearing you said this. Is that true? Getting, of course, the background of the basics of their dieting history, etc. But I think something that really helps me understand them as a potential client, whether they're a fit for my business and a fit for me helping them be the person to help them accomplish their goals, the way I think about it is I need to meet this individual where they are. So I want to understand her schedule. I want to understand how she spends her time. She's intelligent. She knows that she needs to meal prep. She knows that she needs to get to the gym a certain number of days a week. She knows that she probably needs to eat more protein. So the question really is, what is stopping her from making that happen? The more I can understand a client's routine, the more I can understand her workload, the more I can understand the responsibilities that she has in her household, the responsibilities that she has inside of her family, other relationships, the better I am able to equip her with actual tools, hacks, tricks, tips, all of the things that will help her go from being the person who's chronically dieting to becoming the person who has figured out a method and a solution that truly fits inside of her lifestyle without asking her to do a complete 180 when she already feels pressed for time, when she already feels like she's overwhelmed with responsibilities and long to-do lists. So when it comes to thinking about how to address her goals, it's always a process that we continue throughout our time of working together. I feel very fortunate that a lot of my clients will continue to work with me on their nutrition for a solid 2+ years. And that's because there's an evolution. Once they reach the first goal of losing those 10 pounds, maybe that becomes a conversation around, hey, how can I put on more muscle? But there's also just the sheer fact of, hey, stuff comes up in life and maybe big events occur that may cause her to find herself in a situation where what worked before didn't exactly work the second time around. So how can I be there for her to support her, to adjust it and show her that all of these things can be fluid?
I'm a huge fan of continuing education, and I'm building FITLETE to give trainers more efficient access to education that solves their clients' problems. We all look at problem solving differently, and taking different courses, obtaining certifications, and going to new conferences can help us learn from one another. How do you continually develop your skill set as a trainer?
I have multiple certifications, both the level 1, 2, and hormone and gut health specialist certifications from the Nutritional Coaching Institute. I also have my personal training certification, though I will say I've used that more in my group fitness days and a little bit less today. I do some programming for clients, but not as heavy on that as I used to be. I find that when it comes to continuing education and really immersing myself in staying up to date, first and foremost, I listen to a ton of podcasts. I myself am a podcast host, but I really find it important to listen to other experts, to listen to scientists, to listen to other fitness professionals that are well respected, and just hearing their takes, and also those who may have been in that space for a long time. For example, you take a group like the guys at Mind Pump. They're people who, if you go back into the archives, you can really see how certain things about their fitness opinions and training styles and philosophies have evolved. And yet they'll still hold us all to the fact that the basics are important and the basics really matter. And we can't get away from those fundamentals of strength training and, hitting those standard lifts that we all know are extremely effective. But when it comes to nutrition, I also think it's really important to pour into various mindset coaching certifications. This is a commitment I've made to myself for 2025 and into 2026. But using different strategies to support clients through mindset, a popular one that a lot of coaches utilize is called NLP. And it's something that really teaches someone and teaches a client how to embrace change and how to effectively create change in his or her life. And I think that's important because there truly is so much psychology that goes into everything that we do. I do spend a good amount of time on social media just looking at what other conversations coaches who I respect are talking about, research that they're citing that I will then dive into when it comes to any particular topic or body of research that I'm specifically focused on, just given my client base. It's a whole lot around women's health, menopause, hormones, etc. And of course, the lovely category that is GLP-1s, and staying up to date on it and understanding how we can support clients who may want to utilize that as a part of their toolkit to lose fat.
The fitness industry is rapidly evolving before our eyes. How do you envision your personal training business evolving with it in the next few years? I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about this because we have to plan for the future and a future we want for our business. And while all of our businesses might have the same basic goal of helping people with their fitness, we can structure them in very different ways from one another.
In terms of evolution for my business, I'll actually go back to what I mentioned earlier when it comes to thinking about different ways to attract and bring in new clients. And I definitely see this hybrid sort of model in the sense that while I think there was obviously an explosion of online coaching as a result of the pandemic now going on almost 5 years ago, I do feel that there is a clear desire among the consumer to get back to and continue to be a part of community, but in the physical form. So meetups, events, various, weekend events and conferences and different things that they can attend. And so I see opportunities not only for myself, but for other coaches to create things like retreat weekends, to create, partnering up with different brands or like a local gym and doing some sort of big event where it's including the strength training aspect, maybe someone else doing yoga, maybe someone else doing breath work, maybe seminars about nutrition, maybe integrating the cold immersion and contrast therapies to really give someone that full experiential environment and that experiential type of marketing that so many people clearly crave. Because I think one of the things that we've gotten away from a little bit, we got so used to the ability to do everything online. We've gotten so used to the ability to do everything on Zoom that to a degree it's feeling a bit tired for people. So I see a lot of necessity around integrating in-person meetups in some capacity. And it's a piece of advice I would pass on to other coaches because, again, I think it's a way to attract potential clients, but I also think it's a really important way to retain clients because you can do plenty for them on Zoom. You can motivate them. You can create really strong channels that you're using for whatever communication platforms that you have in place, whether it's your coaching app, whether it's Slack, whether it's another application, whether it's Instagram, whether it's another social media platform, but truthfully providing them something that makes them feel like they're really part of your family and really part of your team in that regard is something that I think will be an important mainstay for brands and business owners who want to continue to just be relevant in the years to come.
I know challenges are all over the place in the fitness industry and personal training. Information is available in different formats. Clients are more easily misled by gurus and charlatans. Social media's influence is becoming more and more ingrained in people's lives. And now we have AI. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges currently facing the fitness and personal training industry?
I think the biggest challenge, no matter like what avenue it's coming from, what platform it's coming from, apps, tech, social, different medications, etc., is the fact that because of all these platforms, the consumer is being hit with too much information. And whether that is misinformation is obviously for debate, depending on where you're reading it, where it's coming from. But the big issue is that the abundance of information, in order to therefore stand out, is causing a lot of people to have very dogmatic and very siloed views and really taking things to the extreme just to get attention. And it's an unfortunate aspect of marketing. It's an unfortunate aspect of social media marketing that I do not believe has to exist. I believe that when you keep your core customer in mind and you remember who you're creating this content for and you remember who you want to help, you are very quickly able to discern from what information you may be trying to put out there with some crazy intention to go viral versus the intention to actually support your client and support your future client and your future community and continue to pour back into that community. But because of this level of polarization with information, the challenge that we're facing here is, okay, if we try to stay middle of the road, if we say that the best answer to a question about fitness or nutrition is, hey, it depends, you can get lost among the other voices that seem to be especially loud because they're getting shared and because they're reaching that virality status simply because they take such extreme perspectives. We see this with everything from body positivity to GLP-1s, to different types of elimination diets, to different diet fads and trends. It's everywhere. That noise isn't going away. But I think the more that coaches can be very clear on, we're not here to help everyone. We all have different strengths and different abilities, which is why so many of us can exist and why I do not believe in this idea of the market being oversaturated or there being too much competition. You will attract the people and the community that you are meant to serve as long as you stay honest and in alignment with your message, in alignment with who you are as an individual.
Krista, thank you so much for coming on and sharing some great info about yourself. Krista and I met at the first social night during the Real Coaches Summit last year. A group of my friends were waiting to all take some photos together in front of those, the big branded banners that they have at the conferences. And we were waiting to take some pictures with the organizer, Aram. And the group she was with was also doing the same thing, waiting to take some pictures. So we got to chatting while we were waiting. And my friend John and I both picked her brain a little bit because we're both primarily in the in-person space, and she had made the successful transition from, in her business to pretty much fully online at that point. And she was incredibly honest, open, and since meeting her, she has always left an open line of communication and willingness to help other coaches who have questions about the online space. So it's always refreshing to meet people who are just like open to talk and help people out where they can on the more informal basis. And last summer, actually, a trainer friend of mine in Miami asked if I knew anybody that he could talk to about making some of that transition to online work. And I suggested her right away, contacted her that he might be helping, and I knew she'd be open to helping any way possible. So you never know what types of relationships you can build and what your connections can turn into when you meet new people. So I'm glad you got to know Krista a little bit more through this episode. Check the show notes to see how to contact Krista best. And that's it for this episode. If you want to learn more about FITLETE and possibly get your own episode, visit fitlete.com. That's FITLETE.com. I'll talk to you soon.